this is not organic, but I thought it's worth talking about because, you know, I didn't have your advantage of knowing the cells, science, biology, but I went back to experiences all through my life, and one of them I had, as a child, I read a short story called The Doctor's Heroism. And it was about a man who, I mean, it's written a long time ago, a man who's diagnosed with some incurable illness. The doctor says there's no hope for him, and the doctor says, well, one thing you might want to try, excuse me, he says, go to a warm climate and eat nothing but watercress. He says, just nothing but watercress. So the man comes back, I guess months later, and the doctor doesn't recognize him. He's in perfect health. So, I mean, it has a tragic ending because the doctor kills the man because he wants to examine his body to find out what happened. So,
yeah.
But, excuse me, as a child, I read this, and, you know, it was that whole idea of something's impossible because you believe it's impossible.
Yeah.
Could there have been some truth to this? So this stayed with me. So one thing I started doing during my recovery is eating massive amounts of watercress, fresh watercress. Now, this isn't organic, but
watercress is pretty hard to.
Watercress is a weed, basically.
Is a weed, yep.
Yeah. But it's probably the most complete vegetable in existence.
So our vegetables are cultivated to get more starch in general. The green vegetables, not so much, so they still have more of the nutrient density. Watercress, I don't think it's been cultivated. This is just the wild strain. So, you know, it's so much more nutritious.
Mm-hmm.
This is wonderful. Thank
Good.
You.
Yeah, I thought you'd enjoy it. So
yeah.
So I wanted to, you know, basically share ideas, these things that I did, and it's.
You know, and I have gotten into eating the dandelions out of our yard, the mustard garlic that is an invasive species, eating that out of our yard as well. And the more wild foods that we eat, of course, you know, the better. And so we love to go out for the wild blackberries, wild raspberries, elderberries. I've pulled elderberry bushes from my parents' farm, and we have those on our property as well.
Because it's funny that, you know, the head of neuro-ophthalmology at Wills Eye Hospital, his name is Dr. Robert Surgat. He's, you know, very exceptionally good neurosurgeon and neuro-ophthalmologist rather. And one of the reasons that I believe he's exceptional is because, you know, he's not bound by conventional, you know, diagnose and prescribe. He is very open-minded, and he was the featured speaker at a presentation I gave, and he spoke about what he thought I did, and, you know, he talks about the billions of the microbes right in the gut, and he thinks that I actually changed my immune system, and he thinks one of the other things I did was that here I was doing a lot of cycling to rebuild my central nervous system, but what I was doing was getting a lot of sunlight in the process. So I was getting adequate levels of vitamin D, and he believes there's a direct link between low levels of vitamin D and MS.
Oh, absolutely there is. You know, and the vitamin D speaks to about 1,000 different genes, many of which impact how our cells protect you from infection and how your cells respond to the inflammation. So I'm sure the vitamin D was part of it. I'm sure all the vegetables that you're eating was part of it. I'm sure your commitment to being absolutely clean and reducing your toxin exposure was part of it. And then, of course, your determination, your resilience factors, understanding your purpose, your mission, all of that was absolutely part of it. You know, and I don't think there's any just one part. We're both incredibly ill. We need to give our immune cells, our brain, our spinal cord as much support as it could to begin to repair itself.
So
let's
talk about some. So we talked about the dehydrated cookies, made from flax, chia seeds, carrot pulp. which is
Yeah.
good, because a lot of times people will make carrot juice and just discard the pulp.
And the pulp is really good for us.
Right.
It's feeding our microbiome. So,
Right,
no,
you can make, you make a great cookie out of pulp rather than just throw it away. And so here's something else I got you. I know that leafy vegetables are very important, so I got this. I know in a plastic bottle, but actually I got it yesterday at Mom's Organic Market where we live. They just don't. It's all raw.
Raw
It's
is good.
not cooked. Yeah, so it's very good. So I thought maybe you'd want to try that.
5 pounds of dark leafy greens, vegetables went into making this bottle of raw green juice. Blended, and it says cucumber, celery, romaine, kale, spinach, lemon, and parsley. So the lemon probably helps cut the bitterness a little bit because some people, if depending on your genes, you may have exquisite tasting of bitter, which makes it harder to fully enjoy greens. Cheers. Well, it's very nice. You
So
see
how is it?
It's very good. You can cucumbers in there. It's very, very pleasant. Very,
Good.
very pleasant.
Good. And then I got one other one for you here that's, I basically told her that I was meeting you, and the woman, it was a representative at the store, and she knew you very well,
Oh.
by the way. So
Oh,
she's,
very cool.
I think, big fan of yours. So she recommended this one, their turmeric tonic, which would be good as well.
Let's see. So what's all the good stuff in here? So lemon, blue agave, so little turmeric root. Turmeric is really good for us. And ginger root, mint, and cayenne pepper. Ooh, interesting. Well, this will be fun.
Okay, now, here's something that I did a lot, and, as far as when I was taken out hard with the MS, I was left with no physical strength, and I was tired all the time. I was, falling asleep during orchestra rehearsals.
That'd be a
how,
problem.
well, you know how you don't get a lot of sympathy from your colleagues about that, but they don't understand what you're dealing with, and I was constantly tired, and I had no strength. One of the things that I started doing was dehydrating ginger so I could keep this. And here we are. If you can see this, if you take a piece of ginger and just take a tiny bite, and
We'll
you
just
can
take
just
all.
go ahead. So I brought this for you, and you can see how
Yeah, this is waking you up.
right.
That's
and
good.
put a piece of that under your tongue, and woo, you're not going to fall asleep anymore. And in addition to, I find that the sensory effect of it, just the effect that it becomes something of a stimulant.
How much of this would you take in a day, or?
Maybe 1 or 2 pieces in a day. But I also made the ginger tea that you tasted.
Yeah, that was great.
And that was with maybe 4 pieces, and I would grind it up with the pestle and mortar.
Yeah.
And then just add hot water.
Like 4 big pieces like this, or 4
maybe,
little pieces?
Well, it depends. I mean, I use probably a 25-ounce cup.
Okay.
So, but you probably don't need that much, and then you can reuse it. Maybe make 2 or 3 cups out of it. You're not going to get it all. So,
No.
so I brought that for you. Try that if you're
good.
feeling
Good.
down. That was one of my. It's funny because here I was in the hospital, and the neurologist that I didn't know, I think his name was Dr. Wolf. He came in. And he asked me how I was doing, and I told him, well, among other things, I feel tired all the time. And he said, well, we have new drugs that'll help with that.
Oh
And
yeah.
I remember thinking that, like, do I want to take a new drug so I won't feel tired? Because I'm not a doctor, but again, correct me if I'm wrong, but every drug that you take will have some side effect.
That's right. The drugs just have effects. Sometimes the effects are helpful, but there'll always be effects that are not helpful. Because a drug changes how you and our cells run the chemistry of life. Food restores normal chemistry function.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's clear to me now, you want to figure out why people are fatigued, so restore normal function, as opposed to using a drug that's going to confuse the body in some way. So you're exactly right to say, nope, drugs are not the way to go here.
Okay.
And with that route, doesn't really help much. None of the drugs have been FDA approved, for treating MS-related fatigue. That's because they have yet to show a study that shows statistically significant benefit. They need 2 studies to get FDA approval. We haven't been able to do it yet. Now, physicians want to help, and so we offer these stimulants trying to help people.
Mm-hmm.
But the level of benefit, of course, is so limited.
No, it's fascinating to hear your knowledge and your interpretation of what I'm describing, because my thing, you hand me a cello, that's what I know. I know music.
Yeah.
To hear actually reasons behind why I had success with the steps I chose.
No, and the diet and the lifestyle is really about correcting the hormonal balance, helping correct the microbiome, helping correct which genes are on and off, and all of that restores more normal physiology, more normal chemistry in our cells,
Mm-hmm.
which then allows your brain to rebuild and repair, new connections, resolve the inflammatory lesions, and rebuild your muscle strength, rebuild your stamina, rebuild your working memory.